Hello and welcome to How To in a Few. Today we're going to continue our little adventure on trying to get this computer to run a little cooler. If you saw the other video, you saw that we had a little episode on how to correctly apply thermal paste, which goes between the processor and the cooling fan to facilitate heat transfer to try to keep the temperatures down. It made a significant improvement, but still not quite at the point that I would like it. Right now we're idling, well, not quite idling since we're doing some stuff, around 35 degrees Celsius, and then under stress tests we're hitting close to well, between 80, 85, sometimes a little higher degrees Celsius, which I would like to see the processor stay really close to 70, if not under 70. I started the stress test and it's running on the other screen. I'm going to switch to that. We're just now hitting right at about 80, and we are about 30 seconds into it, 82. So let me go ahead and switch to that so you can get a look at those stats. Okay, so hopefully everything worked now. You can see we're about a minute and a half into the test here. 100% CPU utilization. It's running at 4.28, which is slightly higher. One thing I will say is that I have limited the wattage. There were some Intel recommendations that apparently weren't set right, but I mean, I did that way before, and we're still running, you see now, 89, 85, high 80 degrees Celsius, and this processor is recommended to not run over 70 degrees Celsius. So Intel billed this processor as being overclockable. With the stock cooling fan that came with it, and we have not overclocked it at all. It is set to the stock speeds. It's running at 4.29, but that's at the stock settings. It's supposed to be a 4.2 processor or 4.0. Yeah, maybe that's how they get around it. 86 degrees Celsius. So I hate to see if we did overclock it. So what are we going to do? Well, so what we're going to do is this. This is a Noctua, probably not pronouncing that right, U-type tower cooler, high performance fan system, and we're going to install this on the motherboard today. It's kind of a high-rise cooler with a vertically placed fan, which is going to blow the heat out the back. And it's billed as creating a 20 to 10 degree difference. I mean, that's not officially by them, but that's what I read that some people were getting. So we're going to go ahead and install that. Reseat this to the CPU using the thermal paste like we did last time. Alright. Alright, before we get too far into this, let's go ahead and take a look in our box and see what we are getting. Got a few different mounting systems. Apparently this fan can be used with an AMD mount. That's not us. And then an Intel mount. That's us. Also some accessories. This looks like clips, an extension cable, and it looks like it comes with some thermal compound. I'm guessing we're going to go ahead and use their thermal compound simply because it's their fan. Alright, let's take a look. Wow, this is a monstrosity. So, there's a 120 millimeter fan that is clipped and attached. The interesting thing about this unit is that you can attach a second fan. It has a protector on the bottom, so it mounts on top of the CPU. It's quite a bit heavier than what I thought. I would have thought this to be aluminum, but it appears to all be stainless. So this mounts on top of the processor and then cools it. Pretty high performance looking device. Well, hopefully we'll get the results we're looking for. So, alright, we're now going to open up the case. Now this is where the processor is. If you've seen the previous video, we want to orientate that so we can Alright, first thing we're going to do is remove the cooling fan from the processor. Then we're going to clean the processor off to get ready for the new paste. We are going to do something. You know what, we're going to skip the tanning this go around and install it exactly as the manufacturer states, and hopefully we'll get good results. If not, then we'll come back and do a process called tanning where we smear the thermal paste over. You can check out the previous video on that to see a more detailed instruction set for how to do that. So let's go ahead and remove this cooling fan real quick. First thing I'm going to do is unplug it. On each corner there's a little tab. You could use a screwdriver, but it'll actually turn by hand most of the time. Okay, now we can take a look too at what the spread was on the, a little bit of dusty here. So quite a bit of thermal compound on there. I just put one slither last time. I actually would think that that's a little too much. But a nice quarter, $half shape on the processor. I don't know. I think that was a pretty good job, to tell you the truth. Alright, now let's go ahead and just kind of orientate the cooler to give us an idea of what we're looking at. It's going to be pretty close, but you see here is an exhaust fan that blows out the back of the computer. I'm thinking I'm going to orientate the fan on this side. There's plenty of room that will pull air. These are downdraft, so they're pushing in cool air from the top, will get immediately sucked through and then exhausted out of the back of the box. So that warm air from the processor has a very little area inside of the box itself as far as generating heat. Now I did notice I do not have the 2011 socket. It's the 115. So that's going to change how this gets installed. I will actually have to either access the back of the panel or possibly even removing the motherboard. Alright, so sometimes you just have to thank the engineers for having a little bit of foresight. This was advertised as a gaming case, so maybe that's why they anticipated modifications. And there's a nice open slot back here. So we are going to be able to put our fan backing plate in place. Well, with minimal or no problems. It looks like we're going to be a little bit tight on this side. I might have to jimmy it a little bit to get it in there. Okay, so I gave those engineers a little bit too much credit. Maybe a little bit too early. I had to slightly modify, if you can tell here, I bent a little bit of the frame right there just so that this would clear. So we're now able to insert that backing plate through. Now I don't believe I'll have to get back on this side, so we'll go ahead and close this up. Okay, so I have taken the back plate back off. Turns out I am going to have to be able to apply pressure. I'll put my 2 grommets on. components on the other side. Along with mounting bracket. Now I guess I should be talking about all kinds of safety rules that I'm breaking, like not wearing a static band, etc. You should always wear a static band to kind of discharge any static electricity. Now because it's clamping to the motherboard, I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a tightening, because I foresee a lot of vibration with that fan running. And I do not want this to vibrate loose and have the metal touch something and short something out. Alright, so the mount is now basically in place. This should all go relatively quick now. Okay, we have both surfaces cleaned now, the processor that you're looking at, and I went ahead and did the second stage cleaning on the fan surface just to be sure. And because I am fairly confident that we put too much thermal paste, even though I followed the instructions for Arctic Silver, and it worked really good, I have no complaints. There was a substantial decrease. You can check the video to see it. We are now going to follow these instructions and not use quite as much. I will put a dap in the center, and we will save this. It's funny though, they just want you to have a dap and they give you a whole tube, although I don't know how much is actually in there. Now the cooler itself is non-directional, so as far as the two sides. Alright, this side's giving me a little bit of trouble. Alright, that side's on, other side's on. And I'm just going to give it a couple of spins to kind of mush that paste. Tighten the screws until they stop. Now they are spring loaded, so I'm assuming that the tension is uniformly set by those springs. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the quality of this unit, the instructions, all the pieces. Not going to go too tight, but I do not want it to back out through vibration. Okay, last part. That is some serious equipment there, huh? We're hot rodding this computer. Last part is the actual workhorse. And I believe that's it. Fan is attached. I know the lighting's real bad, but now I'm going to plug in the fan connector. I'm going to verify that the wire itself Stays out of the way of any moving parts. So ideally, cool air coming in, hot air. Now we'll be venting out of a double fan. Yeah, I don't know the direction of the blowing. I'm gonna have to check that. So I believe we are going to go ahead and what are we gonna do? I need to verify the direction of that fan. Okay, fan direction verified. We are going in the wrong direction. So alright, fan has been rerouted. Wires are not in the way. One thing I didn't mention is that this cooler also allows you to purchase a second fan to put on this side so that you have twice as much fan. It really is a beautiful design. I love it. So, alright, now we're ready to close up for real. Hook everything back up. Boot it up and see where we stand. With regards to cooling power. Okay, here we are back at the computer. See, we have our Intel Extreme tuning utility running. And I'm pretty happy with what's going on. I think there's some background processes going on right now. We actually see the processor running at 4.3, slightly higher than before, although no changes were made in any kind of configuration. 25%, 32% utilization. So I believe there must be some kind of backup processes running. I do have some cloud-based storage and some even local-based storage, stuff that runs in the background. So I'm assuming something like that's going on. And that's also giving us an idle temperature around 50. But the real proof in the pudding is when I start the test. And we'll go ahead and run a couple minutes of the stress test. We see now 100% CPU utilization, 4.29 processor frequency, but keep an eye on that temperature. We were running in 80s and high 80s, and now we are hovering in the 60s. This is degrees Celsius. I have to say that I didn't even hope for results this good. We're well below the 70 degrees Celsius recommendation by Intel. So I think what this kind of concisely tells us is that, contrary to Intel's claim that this processor can be used with a stock cooler, that apparently is not true. The instant that I put this Noctua, kind of a hard name to say, this is the NH-U12s cooling system. You can see now we're going into a minute now at 100% utilization. Pulling 80 watts and 63 degrees and holding. I am absolutely thrilled with these results now. I can go ahead and render videos, play a couple games, or whatever I'm doing on the computer and know that I'm not overheating my CPU, and hopefully I won't have any kind of premature failure. Interestingly, if the computer wouldn't have been shutting down when I first installed this processor, I might be using it now and never even know, since that's the whole reason why I checked to see what the temperature was, because it was shutting down on me when I was doing very intensive things. Okay, we're coming up almost on 2 minutes into it, and you can see we're still holding in the mid to low 60s, so I think we have the problem solved. So there you have it. Alright, so once again, that was the Noctua NH-U12s cooling system. I wish I could tell you exactly what I paid for it. Less than what I thought I was going to have to. Maybe $70, $75. Might even have been a little bit less than that. Works on multiple processors, and I'm just thrilled with the results. I finally can use my computer stress-free, not worrying about the overheating issues. So if you're having these problems, this is the quickest way to a solution. It comes with the thermal paste, so don't even bother buying any kind of other materials. Just get yourself this aftermarket cooler. Fairly easy to install. There are some applications where you might actually have to take the motherboard out. You might want to read up, make sure that's something that you can handle. Well, other than that, give me a thumbs up. That goes a long way to help me out. Share the video. Check out our sponsors. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below. The sponsors are the reason why videos like this are possible. So you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.